Check, check.
Mic check. 1 2 1 2. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Joey. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Nice. So you're just in town for a little bit right now?
I've been in town for a few weeks now, teaching and visiting family, and now I've got about a week left, and then I'll be heading back to San Diego.
Nice. Do you just come in for Christmas and holidays and stuff?
That was it.
Yeah. And then while you're here, like, just fucking show some people some leg locks.
Figured I would, yeah, exactly. Stay and teach some of my stuff while I'm out here, since I'm not in AZ all that often.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we had a pretty good turnout at One Love, especially for such like a short notice thing.
I was surprised. Yeah, Issa was saying we were going to get like half of that, and then we ended up getting a bunch of people.
Yeah.
It was an amazing group.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, great energy.
Nice,
And,
yeah. Hell yeah.
That was one of the most fun seminars I've taught.
Oh, good. Nice. That's
I've
really
never
good.
taught like a, well, that's not true. I've taught joint ones before, but I usually don't. It's usually just me.
Yeah.
So to do it joint like that was nice.
That's pretty cool. It's also good to have like some diversity too in what,
For sure.
what you're teaching.
Yeah, having Issa show in the wrestling and showing the leg locks was cool.
Yeah, there you go. And you just did one like at Jay's the day before too,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
You know, I'd imagine there'd be more people turned out for that just because of how many people go to those open mats and whatnot.
Yeah, I was expecting more, but it was also pretty short notice. It was like a week.
Yeah,
So I
for
think
sure.
he was saying we could do like 4 times that if he has some time.
Yeah, more time for sure.
market it.
Yeah, exactly. That's just one of the challenges.
Yeah.
Because a ton of people do go there. You go to like an open mat and like
I've been to the open mat there.
yeah, there'll be
It's pretty
100
huge.
people at any given Sunday
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, not bad on short notice. And you
Yeah,
got like
not too
another
bad.
one this weekend.
Yeah, so I've got one this weekend. It'll be Sunday at noon at Spartan Nation Combatives, which is Dan Huber's gym.
Yeah.
Dan Huber's an old friend. And it should be good. It should be fun. I think I'm going to show some more leg locking, but probably standing entries into the legs will be emphasized, since they're more of a wrestling based school.
Nice.
So I
Some
can
like
give
Connie
them,
Basamis or something.
maybe not even that, maybe just like single legs to ashi, like
Okay.
things that they could use to chain their shot off of, or chain off of their shot, like picking up a single leg, pulling into a leg entanglement, or pulling into ashi off of a failed double leg.
Oh,
things
nice.
like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's teaching some potentially white belts, some flying scissor.
Yeah, I
Maybe
usually
not be the
don't
best.
show flying techniques,
Yeah,
just because they are so dangerous.
They are pretty
So I
dangerous.
don't want somebody to hit it and break someone's leg and then be like, I learned this at the Kyle Boehm seminar.
yeah, exactly, right?
But you know, they're effective. Like, I jump close guard. It's one of the best and one of the highest percentage ways to get to close guard. Because if you're a legit close guard player, a lot of people aren't just going to let you get close guard from a regular guard
Yeah.
situation. They can bring that knee up pretty easily
For
and
sure.
negate that. So sometimes jumping it is the only way. So I think it's necessary, but it's very dangerous.
For sure. It's also not one you need like a ton of reps on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's not like a whole ton of use of
No.
like, drilling it in the gym a lot.
That's
or
right.
even kind of going for it.
Even
Someone
like,
reacts wrong and fucking blows their knees out.
Yeah,
That's
it's not
good.
really worth having it in the gym just because of that potential of catastrophically injuring their leg.
Yeah.
But like, I would
Unintentionally.
practice just jumping close guard onto a punching bag, onto a tie bag. And then when you get
That's
good
pretty good.
enough with that, you can jump it without holding with your hands. So you just jump it and catch it with
the
your
legs.
legs. Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Gotta have a tight grip or else you just fucking
I
hit
think
the
that's
back of your head.
pretty good. Like you said, it's not a super technical move. It's just something you learn and then you throw it.
Yeah. You feel like you get a pretty good close guard?
No, not really. I'm not one of those legit close guard players that people would be afraid of, but it's coming along.
Okay. Because you're 10th Planet now, it's like the gym you rep, but is that what you started with?
I started out here
In Arizona?
Phoenix. Yeah. And I was out here through my colored belts up to purple. And then purple belt, I moved to San Diego
And that's when you started training 10th
with
Planet?
Geo. No, I was at 10th Planet Phoenix out here as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
And then I transitioned over to 10th Planet Oceanside under Geo.
I was just curious because the rubber guard obviously is like big attack from the closed guard. Some of those guys, that could be one of the most dangerous things about getting in someone's closed guard.
Yeah. I do play some rubber guard, but I'm not a rubber guard player.
Yeah.
When I go to close guard, usually I'll start with either 2-on-1 elbow and pull the knees to my chest and try to pass the elbow across my center line and then start threatening the back take. And then if they start defending the back take by shifting their weight over, I would go for a almost like a flower sweep.
Yeah, flower sweep
right there.
Yeah.
Block the knee with the foot, you know? And then either that or I'll try to scoop the leg and go to flower sweep, pendulum sweeps. And then if I can't get any of that going, then maybe I'll go rubber guard to omoplata. Yeah.
Nice. I used to play rubber guard a lot, actually, at like my blue belt level.
Really?
Yeah, just because like it seemed interesting to me. It seemed like a pretty good attack from close guard. But I even like hit a go-go plata from rubber guard in competition once. But I popped my LCL, I think like 3 or 4 times. And then like after that, I'm like, I think I gotta give it up.
Playing rubber guard, you popped it?
Playing rubber guard, yeah. I think part of it's just not hugging that knee, being tight on it, but part of it too is just like refusal to stretch my hips and, you know, make me more flexible to where maybe that's more possible.
Yeah, so it just popped where the weakest part of the leg was, I guess,
Yeah.
was the LCL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it was worth
Yeah,
that.
I could see that. And like, I think if somebody pushes forward at the wrong time or pushes your leg, it can
Yeah.
also do that.
Well, that too. If someone trying to really posture up too while you're in it and you're not hugging the knee at all.
Right.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
I think part of it too really stems from tight hips. If you've got really flexible hips, it's putting less pressure on your knee. But if you're pulling your ankle in towards your face while your hip is trying to turn that leg back at the same time, all of it's kind of like going
on
towards the knee. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying hip flexibility is key for
I think
rubber
so.
guard. I think
Yeah,
you're right.
probably.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like that's funny that you don't get a lot of rubber guard players outside of 10th Planet.
Yeah, not very many at all.
Yeah,
I just started going for it, and I was actually pretty good, but I've kind of given it up completely now.
interesting.
Yeah.
Mason Fowler is like one of the best rubber guard players in the world.
Yeah.
Non-10th Planet guy.
Yeah, how interesting.
So it's good for Eddie because that's like evidence that it actually works.
Yeah, absolutely.
That other people are using it.
For sure. And, you know, maybe like opposite to what you think. Sometimes you think you're just going against a 10th Planet guy. He's going to be all rubber guard, but a lot of people just don't. It's not part of their game.
A lot of 10th Planet guys, it's not a
Yeah.
part of their arsenal, or
Yeah.
it's like their C game, you know, or D
Yeah.
game, or
For sure.
Yeah.
It's one of the cool things about jiu-jitsu is like, you know, Eddie's the head guy over there, but maybe you've got different head coaches that have different specialties and, you know, you're going to glean from whatever works best from you.
that's where it is. Yeah. Somebody was just remarking to me the other day because they rolled with Gio and then they rolled with me, how similar our games are.
Really?
Yeah, you can tell my game is heavily influenced by Gio.
How interesting too, because he's like such a different body type.
He's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
We're both pretty lanky though for our weight classes.
Maybe similar like stature. You're just
I think
like
so.
increased
Just
the size
different
a
weight
bit.
classes. Yeah.
That's funny because he'll compete at like 135 or less, right?
He's gone that low before. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he'll be doing 132 for Aiga.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There you go. That's real light.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Well, that's interesting that you're a similar style because that's one thing that I've like about Issa. Like we've got a pretty similar stature.
You do.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's like
I was watching you guys. I was like, is Joey Issa's size? Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, they're the same
about.
size.
So it's like it's kind of good to help glean techniques
For
that
sure.
work.
You can play the same game.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's interesting. Someone that because what do you weigh in right now?
Like 230.
So a good 100 pounds on.
Well,
on
Gio's
him.
like, yeah, almost. It's like 90. Probably.
Yeah, that you could still have a very similar game.
Yeah, that is interesting. It is interesting. I wouldn't be able to if I couldn't invert. You know,
Yeah.
like I think a higher percentage of the heavyweights can't invert well.
Yeah.
As compared to the other weight classes.
For sure.
So I think that's a big advantage.
It seems to be not as effective on like real heavyweight too. You just don't see it as like the guard play as much. Maybe because of the weight,
Maybe, yeah.
because like if someone just drops down, that like reverse De La Riva just like kind of gets shut down more.
I was feeling that against Freddie last night. I was like, I just need to off balance him as quickly as possible because I don't want to carry that weight.
For sure. I decided like years ago, like I'm never playing guard against Freddie or someone significantly
it's a little
bigger.
scary. Yeah, it's a little intimidating.
Yeah. A few months ago, I had him start and mount, and that was just awful.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, I like you actually I got out to side control pretty quickly, but then just from side control, I didn't realize the chest compression alone is a lot. You
Having
know?
giant people and side control is fucking horrible.
Yeah,
A lot of times you just have to give up your back and turn away from them.
yeah, absolutely. Do you get a chance to roll against people who are significantly bigger than you often? Because you're a
Not
big
often.
fucking human.
Not often, but I have before, and it's like definitely a different type of game that you have to play in certain positions, especially escaping pins against them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like there's no exploding. You have to just do everything correctly.
Have to be technical.
Yeah.
Is there anyone like that's huge that you've fought in competition?
Big Dan.
Oh, you went against Big Dan?
Yeah, we went at the trials back in 2022 in the finals.
Oh, okay.
Nobody, I don't think.
In 2020, in 22?
Yeah, so that was the West Coast trials.
Oh, okay.
In April.
Wow.
And I beat him by a penalty. He sat to guard at the end.
Wow.
But it was like.
That's pretty good. So that's what won you your opportunity in ADCC.
That's it, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And he
sat to guard during the points time?
at the very end of the match.
Wow.
So we
Why would he
would've-
do that?
Just a mental mistake.
Ooh, wow. Just like a forgetting?
Yeah,
Just
it was
a
0-0.
strategic error?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I wrestled up and I put him down,
Mm-hmm.
and we got reset. We went into the table. We got reset, and he ended up getting up before I had 3 seconds of control. It looked like 3 seconds, but a lot of times their 3 seconds has to be like more like 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. They're like one Mississippi.
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah, and it's also totally at their discretion, like what they consider control.
Yes.
You know, and there's those in between positions that you kind of could call either way. So, but at any rate, I didn't hold them down long enough to get what they considered points. And I think at that point, now we're both wrestling again. And he was like maybe under the impression that I did get points. So he was just like, screw it, I'll just sit to guard and I have a better chance of actually getting into my game and getting a finish when I have like 30 seconds, maybe. Or maybe it was just a mental mistake. I don't know.
Wow.
Well, it's a mental mistake either way, but
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's actually interesting too, that he's sitting to guard for, we're just talking about like, you don't see as much guard play, but that's a guy that does a lot of guard play.
yeah,
and
I
he's
was just
a
going to
huge
say,
human.
he's one of those dudes that is giant and can invert.
Yeah.
He's very gifted physically.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, he was one of those guys, you're talking about stronger than me. When he started getting collar ties, I was like shocked. I've never felt that shocked at someone's strength before rolling.
He's like 6'9".
He's like 6'7", but close to 300 pounds.
Wow. It's a big fucking human.
Yeah, he's fucking huge.
Yeah.
And he knows how to invert and he's technical. But
Yeah. Interesting.
sometimes mentally he has issues.
Yeah.
Well,
He's,
if you ever watch a match with him and Andrew Tackett from the Who's Next show, like Who's Number One, the show they did, a show called Who's Next.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of up and comers. But anyway, they had him and Andrew Tackett go in a no time limit match. And Andrew Tackett's like bullying him and he breaks him mentally in like minute 8.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, was it against Victor Hugo? I feel like there was like a slip
Yes.
sort of right at the end. He just,
That's exactly.
it's almost like he gave up. And
it's
then,
it's a reoccurring theme where like he'll be winning the match, and he was, in my opinion, beating Victor Hugo.
Yeah.
He was doing really well. And then, like you said, in the last 30 seconds, he
Got his
like
guard
gave up
passed.
a reversal or something.
yeah.
And it was almost like he gave up. It was almost like he didn't want to go to overtime.
Yeah.
So my theory, and this could be totally inaccurate, but I think maybe it's a mental thing where because he does get tired.
Yeah.
He gets as tired as you would expect a 300-pound, totally muscle guy to get.
For
which
sure.
is really tired pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But when he gets tired, I think maybe he's just like quitting and he's like giving up the points because he doesn't want to, because he would go to overtime then with Victor or with me. When you're exhausted, that doesn't sound very appealing.
Yeah, exactly. It made it sometimes easier just to
He's
take your
quitting.
way out.
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe not. I
Yeah.
don't know. But I think it's definitely possible.
It is interesting. I mean, you'll see like such a tightly contested match, and then like in that he gets like in a bad position, and then all of a sudden just straight downhill
quits.
from there.
Yeah.
How
That
interesting.
definitely happens.
The game is like, and I guess it's all sports too, so much mental.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's like when you see people that compete at the highest level and do the best at the highest level, it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times you'll see people will like, they'll be in a tournament, and it's like not just single elimination, but they'll lose or they'll have a poor performance, and then they'll like fake an injury. Because
Yeah.
they just don't want to keep going.
They're just out for the rest of the day.
Yeah, they just,
for sure.
They just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
After that,
Yeah. It is tough coming back after a loss or just like kind of bringing yourself back.
like a lot of times people don't want to compete for third.
For sure.
They'll get to the semis, they'll lose. They'll
Yeah.
just be like, man, screw it, I'm done. It's
Yeah.
like, no, dude, you gotta get on the podium. You know?
Exactly. Plus, there's still plenty of, exactly. You get on the podium, you
Yeah.
could have some sick matches,
Yeah.
maybe like,
You don't know. You could cement. You could get a highlight. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta fucking go.
yeah, and you never know who you went against that first round too. Maybe that was the toughest guy in the bracket.
Yeah, that could be the champ.
Yeah, exactly. At the ADCC Open last year, Issa, like we all competed at it. Issa actually lost his very first round and then won 7 consecutive.
Yeah. Yeah.
to get
Exactly.
third place.
So imagine if he was just like, ah, man,
Yeah.
I lost. I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Then
like
you're
you
0 and
skipped
1
that
on the day.
incredible day.
Yeah.
Instead of being 7 wins.
7 and 1. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty incredible. And then
Yeah.
the guy that he lost to took first place. So
there you go.
It was just a shitty matchup for the first round, and had some sick matches later that day. There was a big fight that broke out.
That's why it's good to have multiple, like not single elimination.
Yeah, I think the double elimination is pretty cool.
Because when people show up, they pay money to travel there.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to just lose and then go home.
Yeah, that
Get
sucks.
some matches, under your
especially
belt.
with the travel.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And it's like you never know, especially on these opens. There's not maybe seeded as accurately as like based on skill. It's maybe
For
based
sure.
on who's ever who's active that year, or
You
who's
could
most
have
active.
like the finals in the first round.
Yeah,
Really.
exactly. Yeah,
Sounds like that's what Issa's
basically.
match was.
Yeah, it
pretty
was.
much.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
what it
that
is.
could definitely happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've competed at the highest level of our sport, and you still are, like CJI, ADCC, WNO. When you competed against the Gordon, the best that is in our sport,
Yeah.
you I saw you eat some mushrooms
Yeah, I
before. So what was that? Why'd you do that?
I've been rolling leading up to this, microdosing as well.
Okay.
So that was just competing the same way that I was training.
Okay, well that's
Pretty
interesting.
much.
And so was it a microdose or
It
what?
was a microdose. It was less than half a gram.
Okay,
It was
so
one
not
cap
a
and
whole
stem.
ton.
It was like a pretty small cap and stem.
Yeah. Okay, well that makes sense because that was my thought too. I'm like, you want to be in the same mindset that you are in your everyday training and try to
Yeah.
recreate your everyday training. So I was thinking, I was like, maybe you're just trying to tap into like Supermind or something. But if you're doing that leading up to it, then
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Huh. Have you heard? So like, who Paul Stamets is? Yeah. So like that guy basically like cured his autism with mushrooms or
Really?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
He apparently couldn't make eye contact with
Okay.
people. He'd like look down. He was extremely nervous like his entire life. Couldn't talk to women or anything. And then had this mushroom trip where he ate like a fucking I don't know how much, like an eighth or more. Had this incredibly intense trip. Climbed to the top of a tree, and then this crazy storm came through, and he like did the whole thing. He did this whole trip through the storm. And since then, he was just completely changed and felt it felt like he could talk to girls now. He could just have like lead a normal life.
Did he have a stutter?
Maybe had a really bad stutter. I think that was part of it.
I think
too.
I've heard that.
Yeah, he had a
story.
bad stutter, and then now he's like a public speaker.
Yeah.
So, do you
Yeah.
think, in like retrospect, taking like a anti-autism drug was the best thing for going in a jiu-jitsu match when autism is proved to be like the number one performance enhancing drug in jiu-jitsu?
Well, I don't know if we can call mushrooms specifically an anti-autism drug just because they have that effect on this one individual. That's a good point, though.
Yeah.
Maybe it was detrimental to my performance.
maybe it was. You never know.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't even feel it
Oh no, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't feel any difference.
because I was doing like more than that during training, you know?
yeah.
And I think just the pressure of the match also. I
For
didn't
sure.
really notice it.
Okay, well that's interesting.
I just took it to alleviate the nerves a little bit. That
yeah.
was like the main reason behind it.
kinda hone
and then
in.
I filmed it because I knew it would get a bunch of attention.
It definitely did. For sure.
Yeah, Gordon reposted it.
Oh, did
That's
he?
why I got so much attention.
That's funny.
Yeah.
How funny.
He was like, I think it's going to be a bad trip.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, that sucks.
It was a bad finish, at least for me.
That's okay. That's how it goes.
It's Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a sick track record. Yeah. Well, that's part of it too, though. I don't know if you've ever done do you do mega doses ever?
Yeah.
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 I love mushrooms. I think they're
Yeah.
fantastic. I've had some of the best experiences in my life on mushrooms. But
For sure.
one thing, it's if you have you ever done taking a big dose and then the next day try to take another big dose?
No, because it's you've got a tolerance for a few days.
For sure.
Yeah. I was in Vegas one time. I was what was it, 2016? So I was a blue belt. And I went to Vegas to go train because I wanted to train with Vinny Magalesh.
Okay.
Because he was the best in the world at the time. So I went to Vegas and I just was living in the back of my Honda CRV. I was just camped out in Vegas, at this park. I would just sleep in the park in my car and then go train all day at Syndicate. And I was microdosing this whole time because I got these golden teachers.
Okay.
And they were in capsules. So they were in half gram capsules.
Okay.
I think. So I would just take, one or two of those, and then I would go out. I would train. I would go out into the park, and then I had my grappling dummy with me, and I would just drill with my grappling dummy in the park.
Oh, nice.
Which probably looked crazy to people. Actually, yeah, I've had the cops called on me for grappling in the park.
Oh, really?
Because they were like, we got a call that said a white guy was fighting a black guy because it's a black grappling dummy. So it's people driving by seeing it,
He's just tossing this guy around.
Yeah, dude, I think it's a hate crime.
Wow, that's crazy. The police actually came and talked to you?
Yeah, they did. They're like, okay, it's a grappling dummy. All right, cool. Just making sure.
It's kind of more racist on the person that fucking called. They're just clearly a black guy. He's tossing around.
If it's two white guys, we'll just let them go.
Wow.
But at any rate, yeah. So I'm taking these capsules once every few days, and this is the first time that I'd ever had an ego death taking mushrooms, and it wasn't on a mega dose. It was I had just had this girl, and we had a breakup, and I kept having these and then she had started dating somebody else, and I kept having these egoic thoughts of comparison with this guy, and jealousy and shit, And then I'm listening to this Alan Watts lecture. Have you ever listened to Alan Watts?
Yeah, I like Alan a lot.
Nice. And I'm listening to him, and I'm feeling the shrooms a little bit. Maybe I took 1.5 grams.
Yeah.
And then I'm hearing his message about ego, and I'm on a little bit of mushrooms, and then I start considering these thoughts that I've been having about this girl and my jealousy and this ego and bullshit. And I'm and I step back and I start looking at the thoughts and just letting them be for a minute. And I'm wait a minute, who, if these thoughts I'm having are really me, then who is it that's seeing these thoughts and aware of these thoughts? And that's the exact same idea that I'm hearing on these lectures, that I've been hearing over and over again. But now I finally feel it for the first time. I'm oh, shit, that's not even me. I'm awareness. I'm aware of that.
Interesting.
And then for a week, I didn't have any ego. And then it slowly crept back in and the bullshit. But yeah, that was the first time that ever happened to me.
Wow.
Where
How
I
incredible.
felt what these lectures and what these aesthetics that I'd been listening to for years were talking about.
Yeah. How interesting.
Amazing.
Wow. You notice yourself as the observer of the thoughts.
Yeah. And this was coming after maybe 2 or 3 weeks of dosing 1 to 1.5 grams, maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the day for a few weeks, every 3 days.
1 to 1.5 grams 3 times a day?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the morning, a
because
gram, a few hours later after training, another gram, and then the evening, another gram.
Yeah, because you develop such a tolerance.
I think
right? I mean,
body
otherwise,
weight and 3 grams spread out throughout the day, and being pretty big with heavy body weight, I think I could.
Eat more?
Yeah.
Although I don't know if mushrooms are dependent on your body weight.
Is it not really?
I don't think so. I think like 1 gram's gonna affect like a 100-pound girl as much as like a 300-pound guy.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not
I
like
didn't know that.
it's not like blood solvulent or something.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I didn't know that.
the tolerance definitely increases huge. Like that's like what I was bringing up in the first place. Because like if you take a hero dose, like if you take 3.5 grams, you could take like 7 grams the next day and not have the same trip that you did on the 3.5.
Yeah, the next day for sure.
Yeah.
So I think 3 days is what I had read was when your tolerance starts to dissipate.
Yeah.
So I was just doing this every 3 days.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then on one of the days where I was doing it, that's where this experience. I'm like sitting in the park in my car listening to on my phone Alan Watts.
Yeah.
Having these thoughts about this girl and tripping on shrooms.
Wow.
And everything was just like the perfect storm for
Yeah, just figuring that out.
You know, a lot of it's like a lot of the times when that like clicks for people is when they're having the shittiest times.
Yeah, for
When
sure.
and they just can't take it anymore and they're just like, these thoughts are not me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they have to. They're
Wow.
just gonna break down, you know?
How interesting. Or maybe it's like that's like you could go one of two directions. You can have like that type of experience, or you can like cling on to them hard, and that's where people have really bad trips.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
totally.
because
If you fight it,
yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
think that's what it is. It's like a refusal to like just accept.
that's the bad trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
It
you
is.
let go, then it becomes a great trip.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it can be. It can be incredible. I've never had a bad trip, and bad trips
Really?
don't really make sense to me. Yeah,
Really?
Like I mean,
You're lucky.
have you had bad trips
Oh,
on it?
yeah, dude.
Really?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Wow, how interesting.
You know,
And so, what were those trips like?
well, the one of them I think can be attributed to the fact that I used cannabis
During?
right before the trip started hitting.
Oh, maybe like built up some anxiety.
It was definitely anxiety. Yeah.
And then so you
when the
went into
colors,
it.
yeah. And then, so like I was up in Flagstaff at this climbing area called Pre-Straw. And I wanted to
Climbing area?
Yeah, it's like a bouldering area.
Okay.
So there's like these limestone roofs that people go out with their crash pad. They throw the pad down and they climb on the roof with chalk. It's a really cool climbing
It's an
area.
outdoor place?
It's outdoors.
Wow.
Yeah, outdoors with horizontal roofs with pockets in them.
Wow.
Yeah.
A roof but like not a man-made structure.
No, like a rock roof.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
It's like a boulder, but it looks like a roof because it's horizontal.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super
That's
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's just like people just can go and do it.
People just go out there, have a pad on their back, you know, with the straps.
You like hike up to it?
You hike it, you drive out there on this dirt road, you hike out there for maybe like half a mile, throw your pad under there and put climbing shoes on, chalk, and start climbing.
Wow, how cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm out there and I'm like, I want to trip out there because it's an area I've been to a bunch of times and I love it.
Yeah.
So I've taken my mushrooms. I've taken like 3.5 grams, and I'm walking down the draw, and I see these two climbers, and this is like, you know, it hasn't hit me yet. We've got about an hour, probably 45 minutes,
Sure.
something like that. So I see them, and I'm chilling, hanging out with them, and they're smoking a bowl. So I'm like, sure, you know.
Yeah.
I start smoking the bowl, and I get a little stoned, and I'm like, all right, later, and I start hiking down more. And then it starts to hit me, and the colors all start getting vibrant. This is one of my first 5 or so trips.
Okay.
And like maybe one of the first 2 or 3 times I've done 3.5 grams.
Okay.
And so the colors all start getting really vibrant. And I was like, oh shit. Like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Oh man, this could really be a bad trip. Like as soon as that starts happening, I start getting carried away in those thoughts. Like, oh man, I don't know. There's nothing I can do now.
Wow.
And then it just starts compiling and I'm having these sort of negative thoughts. And then finally,
And you're by yourself right now.
I'm by
too.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, I'm just like, Kyle, this can only hurt you if you let it. And once I started focusing on that and realized it was true, because it was just my thoughts,
Yeah.
everything started getting cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
it's like a
pretty
bad
good.
trip for, you know how you lose time, but maybe an hour or two.
Okay.
So when I'm peaking,
Yeah.
but then when I started chilling myself out, then it became a good trip.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
good. That's pretty good. You're able to talk yourself through it too.
Yeah. So, and then after that, I just started doing mushrooms by themselves.
Wow.
Because weed's the only drug I've ever gotten paranoid on by itself.
Yeah.
I think. No, I got in a K-hole one time with ketamine.
Oh wow.
And that was very different.
Wow. I've never done ketamine before. It can be like an intense psychedelic as well.
Yeah, it's like it can be a it's a horse tranquilizer.
Yeah.
So you're you can't compare it to anything else, but
Yeah.
you're like, you feel very tranquil, but then
You're
also
not like running around doing
no,
stuff.
you're definitely not running
rock
around.
climbing.
You're lying down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your physical capacity is kind of diminished because of this thing.
Yeah.
But if and you have to be really careful with ketamine. You have to really measure the dose because if you don't, you can go into a coma.
Wow. They do it like holistically now. You can actually go to places and pay them like a couple $100 and they'll do it
for your psychological well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just took enough to get into a K-hole, which is where you like are trapped in this. You feel trapped, and I had completely lost all recollection of identity or who I was or the thing. I'm looking around my room and I recognize these objects, but I don't know what they are or what they're for.
Wow.
And I was like, when I would close my eyes, I would see these like. The best way to describe it would be like pre-existent machines or like building shit. And then I feel like if it weren't such a heavy tranquilizer, I would be freaking out completely because I completely lost all recollection. I knew that I had lost my old life.
Wow.
I just knew that. But I didn't have any recollection of it.
Of like what it was or who you were.
And I was like, now this is my existence and I'm trapped here forever.
Wow.
So a terrifying feeling, but because it's such a tranquilizer, I was like kind of okay with it.
Wow.
And then eventually, kind of like the other trip, I was just like, okay, well, if we're trapped here, let's have some fun. And then I closed my eyes and started kind of flying through space.
Wow.
And then eventually I came out.
How interesting.
Yeah.
So how do you administer ketamine to yourself?
I snort it.
You snort it?
Yeah.
So it's like a powder?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a white powder.
And so you just took too much of it, you think?
I think I wanted to do the K-hole, so I took as enough as
you
I
tried to
needed
do like a big dose.
like enough to get in there.
Oh, wow.
Without being dangerous.
Huh. And so do you think in retrospect now it was a good trip or a bad
I'm
trip?
really glad it happened because it was the most intense psychedelic
That you've
experience
ever
I've
done?
ever had.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
like I
incredible.
smoked a DMT pen before, but I didn't do it correctly, I guess, or I didn't inhale enough, or it wasn't a good pen or whatever, but I didn't blast off like you're supposed to. Someday, hopefully I'll get another one of those and do that correctly.
There was no blast off?
No blast off for me.
Same thing. I tried DMT one time and it was a similar experience. I didn't blast off at all.
Yeah. I guess we have to keep trying.
Yeah, exactly. Try until it happens.
Yeah.
My dad actually did it one time in like Canada, and it scared the shit out of him because he had a similar experience where like he forgot everything. It felt like he died completely and then
what it
came
is.
back.
It feels
Yeah.
like death.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
And then I hear you forget it like very quickly as well.
That's what I've heard about DMT is that like a dream, as soon
Yeah.
as you come back, you start forgetting it.
Yeah, because
And
that's
after
what.
a couple minutes, it's gone.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you dream. You'll have these intense releases of dimethyltryptamine just through your own brain.
Is it DMT when you're dreaming, or is
Yeah.
it in REM sleep? I thought it was in heavy REM sleep when you're not dreaming.
Yeah. Oh, so not.
I think.
I think it's in heavy REM sleep, and it's what causes dreams. Like
Really?
it is what like the dream world is through dimethyltryptamine. It's
didn't
like
know that.
released through your pineal gland. It's only released
Yeah.
during like heavy REM sleep, and actually right before human death.
Yeah.
It's released in these heavy doses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you take it, it's the same thing. So it's like Terrence McKenna had a joke of like DMT is this incredibly illegal drug. It's like a what's it called?
It's like Schedule 1.
Schedule 1
even though
drug.
It's in your own
And
brain.
yeah, it's like it's a Schedule 1 drug, but everyone's holding.
It's in your third eye. Yeah, you're holding.
Everyone's holding.
They can't take it from you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's also like one of the most bioavailable drugs too. Like you can get it from like tree
So
bark
many different
or grass.
plants. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy at 10th Planet Poway was making it from tree bark.
Really?
He was finding the trees on like government property.
Oh,
Isn't that wild?
that is kind of interesting. I don't know if I want those trees. I might want some like trees in the forest that
Good
are
point.
chilling.
Yeah. I guess apparently the bark that he needed was pretty plentiful in these trees that
Oh,
he was finding on
interesting.
like government
Wow.
facilities and shit.
I wonder if that has any
Like
influence
outside of
into the type of trip you have, like just being around the energies that are like going near it every day. Like
I don't
if
know.
you'd have a different trip taking like government tree bark versus like in the middle of the forest tree bark.
We'll have to have an experiment.
Yeah, exactly. A side by side. That's interesting. I'd want like him to try it first before doing it myself.
Yeah, you would definitely want him to take his DMT before you tried it.
Yeah, it's like I hear if you're creating psilocybin mushrooms, like it's extremely easy to make this like poisonous drug or poisonous mushroom by accident, and it's got like a similar aesthetic too. So anytime I hear about people making mushrooms and like, oh, we could trip, I'm like, you could try it first, and then maybe I'll give it a go.
Be the guinea pig.
Yeah. Huh. So what started your like psychedelic adventure? Was there like a first time you did it, or what like encouraged you to do your first time?
I started listening to Rogan in like 2007 or 8. It was pretty early on in the podcast.
Yeah.
And he was talking about McKenna.
Yeah.
So
he was heavy into DMT back then.
Yeah, he was talking about it, and then he mentioned Terrence McKenna, and I bought his book called Food of the Gods.
Yeah,
read it.
I have that book.
Do you really?
It's right there. I got that book right there. Food of the
Yeah,
Gods.
that's the same book. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, and I read through that book, and then I just started listening to his lectures as well, and he has that super unique voice and that crazy ability to describe the like consciousness.
Yeah.
He
does have a really interesting voice.
Yeah, very interesting voice and very unique ability to put things into words that most people aren't able to.
Super intelligent guy.
Yeah.
He's also got some interesting...
Ethnobotanist.
An ethnobotanist.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
I don't know. Someone who deals with plants.
Yeah. I wonder what the ethno means. Maybe like the like origins or how it relates to humans. Something like that. He's got some interesting theories like the stoned ape theory. Yeah. That's honestly, it makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, that one actually does make sense to me as well.
Yeah. I'm not like what's it called? The type of people like an evolutionary biologist. I'm not an evolutionist, but it seems like it makes a lot of sense. Like when people talk about the evolutionary theory, the one thing that is sort of unexplained is like how the human brain doubled in size over this like 1 million or 2 million year period. And like I'm pretty sure the leading theories are like when
heavy protein diet,
the
throwing arm,
exactly, like locking in
to
exactly,
bigger
like
game.
For sure, yeah. Like we're unable to. However, we're getting food source before we needed to like hunt meat.
Yeah, and so the wildcats, they eat a lot of protein as well, right? Almost entirely.
Yeah,
but their brains aren't doubling.
They're not talking.
Yeah, at least not to us.
They're not invading Ukraine.
Not yet.
Just kidding. Yeah,
doubling the brain size in 1 million years.
Yeah. So his theory was like we just started eating mushrooms.
Grasslands.
Yeah, exactly. Right? We left like the trees. We started like going into the ground, started flipping over cow potties. Yeah. And then like he explains it like it starts slowly. Like initially, because if you take it in low doses, I'm sure you're aware, you're like your eyesight's better, your hearing is better, your senses are more acute.
Visual acuity, which could lead to the higher protein diet as well. If they're hunting, whether under the influence of psilocybin mushrooms,
for
visual
sure,
acuity increases in their accuracy with whatever they're throwing at the animal.
That's true too. Yeah, but then like it also like it's like aphrodisiac. You like
so they're
maybe
sex.
Banging more.
Yeah.
So maybe like those people are reproducing more often, and then eventually somewhere down the line, these people are not just taking it for hunting or in small doses. They're taking it to fucking trip balls. And his thought was that when you take psilocybin, it like heavily influences the part of your brain that is involved with syntax, like ascribing meaning to objects. So like this is called a phone, this is called a water bottle, we call this a table. And at that point, maybe this is when language was invented. And through the advent of language, we can now communicate with others. And like how he described it too, like language is essentially fucking
Psychedelic.
telepathy. Yeah,
It's very
it's essentially
psychedelic.
telepathy.
Yeah.
You know, if your internal dictionary matches my internal dictionary, we can share thoughts just through fucking mouth noises.
Voices that we make with our throats.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
make these weird noises and you understand them, and now the thoughts that are going on in my head are replicated in your head.
It's like the old religious texts. At first, there was the word.
Yeah.
Communication comes first.
Yeah. That is interesting. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Started with the word.
Being able to, like you said, tell you exactly what I'm thinking
Yeah.
with these crazy sounds we make with our throats.
Yeah.
It is telepathic.
That is crazy, huh? Maybe that's like when God first got involved. He's like, okay, these motherfuckers are talking now. We'll go. That's why it's like the first thing in the Bible.
Where civilization starts to develop, when you can organize things more effectively
Yeah.
through communication.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you can like teach your young so much better. You can
Yeah.
say, hey, that plant over there, you'll die if you eat it.
You don't
And
have to show them
Yeah. You're like, no, eat.
communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or like hunting techniques and whatnot. Yeah, there's so much that you could do it. You can collaborate. And then also, too, certain people have strengths, certain people have weaknesses. You can sort of figure out what works best for the group and like grow better as a group that way.
Communication changes everything.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrence McKenna has a great quote about words, too. It's like, he's like, in his really weird voice, he's like, I forget it. I'm going to fuck it up, but it's such a good quote. He's like, the real secret of magic. I forget it.
What is it?
It's like, I forget the quote. It's such a good quote. Maybe I can look it up real fast. Yeah, hold on, let me see. Terrence McKenna, The Secret of Magic. I used to have it memorized. It's such a good one. Oh, this one. That's why. Because like the beginning of is like, he's like, the syntactical nature of reality. The real secret of magic is that the world is made of words. And if you know the words that the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish. So it's like if you can just communicate effectively, if you can just talk to people, you can like fucking do things. You could change the world.
It's funny, like a lot of the psychedelic experience is deconstructing those things too. It's like dissolving those boundaries between yourself and other things.
For sure.
And realizing it's all one energy field. So
Yeah,
it
like
goes
stopping your
backwards.
attachment to it.
Yeah, like when I walk outside, I'll see like Toyota, palm tree, bus, etc. But if I'm tripping hard on psychedelics, these are shapes, right?
Yeah. This is
Oh,
just
and
like,
everything looks new and fresh.
yeah. Everything looks so alive too. when you're
Everything looks
looking.
alive.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
It's like that. What a good looking bush that is.
Yeah, and it's all like one living thing.
Yeah.
Almost.
What do you think we are?
Humans?
Yeah. Like, what do you think that is? Like, why we feel this thing oneness? Like when you look at something.
I think at our most basic, in the most basic sense, what we are and what any living organism is, at least any organism, I would say that we're just awareness. So we're all the same thing. Like that's where kind of the psychedelic idea hits home, at least for me, is when I'm having this experience of losing ego identity and feeling like I'm just a point of awareness, and then the realization that that's what everyone else is as well. If you were coming to this realization, you and I are both awareness, so we're the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're all one. It's all one. Not saying that we're all part of a one awareness field or anything like that, but from an experiential standpoint, it feels like I'm awareness. And you would be the same thing. So we're the same thing. It's and we're all one in that sense.
So would a tree like be like a level of awareness?
I think trees are sentient, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, it's alive.
Yeah.
And like the forest trees talk to each other.
Right, and they spread via dropping their seed or whatever. That's how like the trees are able to spread
like
out.
propagate, like they like recreate.
Yeah.
They drop their seed.
Yeah, so they're sentient then.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're sentient. Yeah, like they like allocate resources and,
Yeah,
and whatnot.
a
Like
totally different type of awareness, but yeah, still awareness.
yeah,
Yeah. So any living organism.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think of it similarly. Like I feel like if sort of like if you like poke a bunch of holes in like a piece of paper and then like shine a light through it, you'll see like on the wall like a bunch of little individual dots, but it's like all the same thing going through it.
The same light.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sort
That's
of
a
like
good
the-
analogy.
Yeah, like we're all this one
Okay.
light, like in a bunch of different.
So do you think that consciousness is something outside of life, or do you think that life creates consciousness? Like, does consciousness breed life? Like, does a mind create matter, or does the mind somehow originate out of matter?
Like,
Like, which one is preeminent?
which one was the first?
Yeah.
Maybe that isn't that like almost like
I guess
like,
linear time doesn't even really allow for, or I guess like that question isn't even really logical if you're looking at time in a different, from
Well,
a different perspective.
it would be like almost like did like God create in that way it would be like the consciousness
Mine
started
would
first.
have to be God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other way would be like maybe some random event like the Big Bang or something, and then it's expanding first.
So Aldous Huxley has a book about that called
Who does?
Aldous Huxley. So he's the guy that wrote Brave New World. The Doors of Perception. It's a short book, but he's talking about his trips on LSD. And he took LSD as he was dying.
Wow.
He took one more dose.
Wow.
Like, right
Oh, as he was dying.
Yeah.
Like he was
On his
tripping while he
deathbed.
died.
On his deathbed, he
Wow.
was tripping on LSD.
Not a bad way to go out.
No.
There's worse ways.
For sure.
People die in really bad ways.
But his idea was that consciousness and awareness are something preeminent that we tune into. Like a brain is a receiving mechanism for consciousness and filtering it. And when you're on heavy doses of psychedelics, the filter is sort of dissipated, so you're getting more. But because you're getting more, you can't organize things in the same way that you would in your sober state of mind.
Interesting.
Where you can be like piano, book. Whereas if you're tripping, you're just like it's all part of the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
There's no separation really. It's me, you know.
Interesting. Yeah. I've thought about that before as far as like we've got these five senses, like your sight, your smell, your taste, your feel, your hearing. And then like there could be other things out there we just don't have the acuity to pick up.
Apparently you can experience senses, like you can taste
Sounds.
something like this. Yes,
Yeah.
under LSD, I believe. I've never experienced it on LSD.
I've also never experienced
But,
it. I've heard that before.
I've heard that.
Yeah, like you'll hear colors.
Right.
Yeah.
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 So you see your senses are kind of like dissipating.
they cross over as
It's like,
well.
wait, are these even real?
Yeah. And there could be a bunch that we just don't have the acuity for. You know, there's like like certain
Radio
types,
waves.
Yeah, radio waves we
Yeah.
can't see. Like EMFs,
Sound
we can't
waves.
see gas. There's certain
Yeah.
gases that are just can't see them at
It's
all.
there.
Yeah, it could be like I was thinking about it like if we didn't have noses, I feel like by like assuming our taste would be the same, by and large, most of your
A little
experience,
different though. Your taste would be a different.
well, assuming it's exactly the same.
Okay.
Like assuming it's exactly the same, you just can't smell stuff.
Right.
Like your most of your experiences would be about the same. There's not too much stuff that like you like assuming that like from the beginning of humanity there was just no noses and like we just grew up without even understanding what smells are. You could have like shit and maybe it's gross or maybe it's like, it's, you don't want it in the house, but you'd be completely unaware that you're just basking in this scent that's all around you, that this disgusting thing or maybe body odor or something, you would just be completely unaware because you don't have this thing to pick it up. There could be other things like that. There's like something that's surrounding us right now that I'm literally basking in, but I just don't have the sense to be aware of it.
Yeah, you just can't tune into it accurately.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah, could be right there.
Yeah, I think we would definitely be. If I had to give up one sense, it would probably be smell.
Yeah, if you
I
had to
think
give
I
up
could
any
do
of them.
without that one.
Yeah.
But
You
taste
wouldn't want
would suck. 'cause
Taste would
you'd
be
lose
horrible.
Good food would be out the window.
Hearing is not good.
No, but
Start
they're
talking
all.
like a
What about losing your feel?
feel.
See, that would be interesting because it's almost a superpower in a way because
Yeah.
you can get tortured and you don't feel it
But you can also have orgasms
and you don't
through a
feel
great
it.
feeling.
So you're losing
Yeah.
a lot as well.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sight would be.
Yeah, I guess if you're like doing MMA or something and you can't feel.
Yeah, totally. It's like, dude, that guy can take punishment. Both his arms got broken.
Yeah.
He just kept going, throwing head kicks.
That's just Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, dude, he has that.
He has that. Yeah,
That's why he
exactly.
wants to train so hard because he can't feel orgasms.
Yeah.
So there's no point in having sex. He just trains.
He's like,
it
yo,
all feels the
Goggins.
same, bro.
Yeah, that's why he's doing weight cuts like outside of like fight day or
Yeah,
fight week and stuff.
Why not?
He's just trying to feel something.
Yeah.
God, that would maybe be the second worst. I think taste would be the worst though.
Really?
I think taste.
Really?
Or no,
Sight.
Sight is probably pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, sight is pretty bad. Taste might be the second worst.
Yeah. Blind people are tough motherfuckers. I would not want to live without my sight.
Yeah, sight is actually definitely the worst.
But I guess that would just be something you have to fucking deal with, and it's a totally different life experience now.
Yeah.
And your other senses become highly tuned.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is crazy to think there's like millions of people out there living without.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they're
But when I do
life.
think about this, like, sight would probably be
If you're gonna give up one
the
thing,
that I wouldn't want to lose.
yeah, I probably would like give up feel. I'd give up hearing before sight.
Yeah, hearing I could deal with being deaf.
Nose would be the easiest one to give
Oh,
up.
totally. I'll give
Yeah.
up sense of smell. It's not a huge deal at
Yeah,
all.
exactly.
It's not like you get overwhelming life experiences from smelling.
Through your nose, yeah.
I'll stop and smell the flowers, but
Yeah.
it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, exactly. Like your hearing is an incredible thing. You know,
Yeah.
just being
and
able
it's just it makes things a lot easier. if
Yeah,
you don't
for
have
sure.
to
If you had to communicate with people through sign language,
Yeah, and if they don't sign, how are you going to communicate? You have to
for
write.
sure,
It'd
it's
just
impossible.
Be a little bit tedious, but it's manageable.
Yeah.
But sight that'd be a tough situation.
It is interesting to think that there are people out there that like walk through a life without one of these senses.
Yeah.
Like I used to work at a bar in Tempe, and we had for whatever reason a big deaf crowd that would come in. Like at least like 10 people that were like regulars, and they'd dance and stuff. And I'm like, how do they dance to the music? But apparently it's like you can kind of feel the bass
Rhythm.
and the beat.
Well, Beethoven, right?
Oh
Beethoven
yeah, he was.
deaf.
Well, I guess he started with hearing, right, and then like lost
Okay,
it as he got older.
But he kept composing by like putting his ear to the ground and feeling the rhythm, I guess.
Oh, that is true. Like one of his in most like amazing
One of his best
symphonies,
symphonies
he
was
did
when he
when
was
he's
deaf.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
That's remarkable.
Wow, what a genius.
Yeah. So you can still, Helen Keller. A lot of people think Helen Keller is a fake.
Yeah, she was just faking it the whole time.
Yeah.
Why do they think that?
They think that the story was made up because she was really she became like one of the forefront voices for feminism at the end. And they think that she was just used because you can't, it's like a sort of a psychological ploy. Like you can't argue with this deaf blind girl if she says that,
Yeah.
if she starts putting forth all these feminist talking points,
Yeah.
it's a lot harder to question.
These radical
her.
ideas. You
Yeah.
can't
And
just
somebody
be
else is like, oh, dude, she's just deaf and blind.
Oh,
Like, give her a break.
Don't yell at her.
Yeah. So that's the idea.
Maybe
I don't know.
maybe-
like apparently she developed a British accent at the end of her life. And it's
Really?
like, how the fuck does that happen?
Wow,
Like,
that's
she can't
interesting.
Hear.
Huh.
How is that possible?
Wow. Well, maybe at that time where like women were such like, stay in the kitchen type, position in the family, like she needed to put on this act to like forefront her
That's what I'm
her
saying.
ideas.
Yeah. I think she was placed in that position, and the whole
Wow.
story is just.
That's crazy. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, she did some good stuff either way. Wouldn't that be crazy if she was faking it the whole time?
I think it's very possible.
Could be. I don't know. I wasn't around during that time.
I wasn't either.
Yeah, she was like, there wasn't like a big part of her career like hiding Jews like against away from the Nazis.
Helen Keller was a part of that.
Yeah, no, yeah, like hiding Jews from being like taken to concentration camps. Like Helen Keller's house is like a famous thing.
No,
you go
and
visit.
Frank's house.
Oh, am I mixing
You
that
think
up?
about Anne Frank? Yeah,
You're right.
that one as
I
well.
am
Actually,
mixing
we
that
can't
up.
talk about that one.
No, can't talk about
There's
that.
just that one. There's some topics that is too controversial.
No, okay. What did Helen Keller do? Just besides being
She was the deafblind girl that
Yeah.
apparently developed the ability to communicate.
Okay.
And there's that famous scene in the movie about her where she's like, "Water, Helen," and she's pouring water, and Helen thinks,
okay.
so that was something like Anne Frank was the
She, like,
the
helped
Jewish
Harvard.
girl in
She was Jewish
The
or she was
Netherlands.
German that like helped harbor Jews.
no Anne Frank was Jewish,
Oh, she was.
and her family were in like a secret annex, and that's where she wrote the diary from. That is supposed that may or may not have been written by someone else.
Oh, really? Is there like some controversy
Yeah, there
there?
was a lawsuit over it.
A lawsuit?
Yeah.
What? Who's suing who?
Well,
all these
somebody
people dead?
sued. I think her father
Sued her
because-
father?
or somebody got
He's
sued
gonna.
because
He's even more dead.
well, he was the actual author. I guess sued somebody. I forget exactly how it was, but
About like who was the actual
about who
original
actually
writer.
wrote it. Yeah,
Interesting. Because it was probably some writings that another person published or something.
something like that.
Interesting. Wow. I wonder if like before like 100 years ago when it was like, or maybe a couple hundred years ago when like before like cars or anything, if there was still like conspiracies about this and that. It probably was, right? Like just non-trust from the government. It's probably actually been going on for a long time.
Yeah, over 100 years ago, the Federal Reserve in 1913 was created.
Yeah.
I mean, that was people conspiring to implement a central bank
Yeah.
that would have power to issue currency and issue
Yeah.
interest rates.
And they did it.
And they did it. And we
Yeah.
still have it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's like a non-government.
Now it's private.
Yeah, which that's nuts. Why do we, and that was 1913 was also the time that we de-tied from gold as well, right?
Nixon took us completely off the gold standard. Later in the 70s,
Maybe there was some sort of break in the at that time. This is why we needed Jamie in here. Pull up the fact checks.
yeah, something happened. Oh, the income tax was implemented in 1913.
Was
as
it?
well. Yeah. So it wasn't the best year. And then the next year we went to war.
Wow.
So we get the Federal Reserve 1913, 1914. we
Income
go
taxes
World
in.
War One, income tax.
And then World War One.
World War One. And
Wow.
we've basically been in perpetual war on and off ever since that.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
What the hell?
Yeah, man.
Wow, you know what we need to do is abolish income tax and this will all be fixed.
Well, I think we need to federalize the Federal Reserve. We need to
Yeah.
nationalize the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, make it a part of the government arm, not a
Yeah.
private company.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. 'Cause-
Audit it.
Yeah,
It can't even be audited,
really.
which is insane when you think that that's
They just
where
print
all
money.
of our money is coming from.
The people that are just running it, can they just print themselves a couple hundred thou, couple mil? Just
Yeah, well, it makes you
Run
wonder, like,
away.
why do we have to pay taxes if they can just print money?
yeah. Well, cause it all like printing money can't be the solution for everything though too, because it just like devalues everything.
No, it's another tax, inflation.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tax. It's just a
Diminishing the value of the dollar.
for sure.
When you
Yeah.
think about it, like, my grandfather worked at Caterpillar. He was a blue-collar worker after
Mm-hmm.
being in the Marines. And he raised 6 kids all on a blue-collar salary, and then he retired.
This is your grandfather?
Yeah,
6 kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that could never, you could barely,
You
you
can't-
couldn't retire on a blue-collar salary being single with no kids.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
You,
You could barely just sustain yourself
You could barely
right now.
make it. You're probably going paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's inflation. That's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
destruction
That's the
of our
difference of
currency.
it.
Yeah,
How incredible what the difference is between now and then.
yeah.
It's weird. It's like it's much more difficult in a lot of ways like that. Like you just like, I mean, even more recently, you could be like the fucking manager at a grocery store or something and like have a couple kids, have your wife stay at home and you're able to survive. But now it's just like completely impossible.
Yeah.
In other ways, it's a lot more tough though, too. You know, like there's less freedom of information. Now with information available, you can do anything. You know, like you can,
Well, look at jiu-jitsu. We have every single, instructor and all of their instructionals at our fingertips if we want it.
Yeah, it's an excellent
Have to pay
example.
money.
In like the early 2000s, there was like secret techniques, and you weren't gonna
Yeah.
go show people anything.
The access to information has grown enormously.
Insane.
And just even since we started, like all those Danner instructionals didn't come out until after we had been in the sport for a couple of years.
For
right?
sure. Yeah, it was like late teens or something.
Yeah. I remember
Most started
trying to
coming out.
figure out, like, 2017.
Yeah.
The leg locks, just by traveling around and
Yeah, meeting
going
with
to
people.
different teams.
Yeah.
And then watching competition footage.
Yeah. Now your buddy can send you like a bootleg link and just have fucking everything.
8-hour instructional.
Yeah, at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of like how we were talking about how language changed the dynamic for humans. The access to information was almost like what interconnected not just like your local community, but the entire world. Now you can learn from someone across the earth who you'd never even met that like will teach you how to fucking play Van Halen on the guitar. When
Yeah.
you'd never have access to that person in a community where you don't have that access.
For sure. And like the sport itself is going to advance quicker with everybody sharing information with
For
one
sure.
another.
Yeah, our whole humanity is going to advance quicker, you would think.
Right. Outside of it.
We just got these motherfuckers printing money getting in our way.
Yeah, man, they're the problem.
Yeah.
Gotta go choke them out.
Right? Yeah, exactly. We got to get them into jiu-jitsu or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. There's like in one way, like it's a lot more difficult as far as like, it's, life is just so much more expensive, but in other ways it's a lot easier too. I always try to think about it. It's like, there's just no utility in thinking about how shitty the difference is. Like, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to just, there's people who are thriving in our environment. There's people who have 6 kids and are not, don't have their wife worked right now. They're just, what are they doing?
Yeah,
know?
totally.
Yeah.
It's it's probably the softest time in human history right
Yeah,
now. Everything's
exactly.
easy.
Yeah, everything's super easy.
Food, you can get whatever you want, wherever you want.
Yeah,
You can get to where you need to go.
yeah. You can travel.
You don't have to worry about natural predators. You don't have to worry about hunting for your food.
Yeah,
But that's also can be problematic because those are things that were part of our evolutionary history.
yeah.
So you've got to start replacing
Like a need for struggle.
the hunt with jujitsu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think jiu-jitsu is like an incredible tool for that. Like,
It's definitely very good for your psychological health,
so good.
problem solving, physically,
Yeah.
community, etc.
Yeah, the aggressiveness of like, I don't even know if it's aggressiveness, but the like ability to like attack another human and like have them attack you, but it's like completely
And keep it playful while it's happening.
totally playful. Yeah, exactly. But it's also at the same time, you could have some intense roles with people that are like, you guys are best friends, but you're just getting after it. And all you're
Yeah.
doing is just helping each other.
For sure.
It's a mutual understanding that this is like great for both of us.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. How interesting. And you know what? Jiu-jitsu is also fairly recent too. Like as far as like on a mainstream level.
Oh, yeah. And growing rapidly. But
Yeah. Like
as far as being, like you said, mainstream, it's only probably less than a decade. But it's
Probably.
a normal thing to hear your friends say they're going to go to jiu-jitsu.
yeah. Like I was talking to Jay from Jay Pages, and he said in like 2005 or something when he was here, he's like, there was like 5 purple belts in Arizona.
Yeah, so it wasn't mainstream at all.
Not at all. Could you imagine? It's like
That's
less
insane.
than it's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And now you'll have like 25 purple belts at one gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you start?
So
what year did you start?
Late 2014.
Oh, okay.
How many black belts are in Arizona? You know?
I don't know. It's a good question. I would say there's hundreds now.
Really?
I think so because Jay has, I want to say in the 70s. I remember a few months ago he gave out his 69th black belt. I want to say Gustavo has at least 100.
Oh, wow.
I know Paul Nava has something in the high double digits. So it's got to be a few hundred, and that's not considering, all the other gyms.
That's insane.
I don't know how many 10th Planet has in Arizona.
So, yeah, to go from 5 purple belts in 2005
To hundreds of black belts
20 years later.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Incredible growth.
Yeah. That's crazy. And the whole sport grows in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does because you're just getting a greater talent pool
Yeah.
to
For sure.
eventually reach the highest level.
Yeah. So when did you decide to go like all in on jiu-jitsu?
Pretty much right when I started.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You started. You're like, this is
because I was doing MMA before, and then I was like, okay, I guess well, professional jiu-jitsu is kind of emerging now. Metamoris had just started.
This was in
UBI coming
2014?
about. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like, wow, there's actually like professional leagues now.
Yeah.
So maybe I can do this.
Huh. How cool. And then you've just been all in, and this was like basically white belt. You're just deciding to go all in. Wow.
Yeah.
And
like I did the trials as a white belt.
you did trials as a white belt?
Yeah.
How did you do that time?
I lost in the first round.
Yeah. That's okay. There's plenty of white belts who do that.
Yeah.
Right? And then you eventually fucking won trials.
And then
how sick is that?
Yeah, that added up just in terms of my experience towards the ADCC rule set in particular.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I went and did that and got to compete under the rule set as a white belt.
Yeah.
Went back as a purple belt and won 2 matches. Went back as a brown belt and did the same thing.
Won
and then
2 matches.
won 2 matches again at the West Coast as a brown belt. So I had 4 trials under my belt and then won it on the 5th time.
Wow. What a
Yeah.
beast. How many matches did you have on the one that you won?
5.
5?
Yeah.
It's a lot. Is it over 2 days or
2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's sick. It's very good.
Thanks.
Yeah. You've competed at some legit stuff. CJI too was one of them now just recently too. Did you get a call to them or you reached out to them or how did that work
I
out?
was talking to Eddie and Eddie reached out to Craig
Okay.
and Craig invited me.
Oh, nice.
After he got contact that I would be interested.
Wow. That's pretty good. And now you're going to be on CJI too?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll be doing the heavyweight position
That's pretty
on the
good.
10th Planet team.
Does that have a weight limit or that's no weight limit?
That's got 5 weight classes. It's the ADCC weight classes 66, 77, 88, 99, plus 99.
Okay.
So it's me, Ryan Aiken, PJ Barch, Alan Sanchez, and Gio
Oh, nice.
as our team.
Wow, that's sick. So you're allowed to talk about it now?
Yeah, they just posted it
Oh, okay.
a
You know
couple
what?
days ago.
I saw it. I
Yeah.
forget who. Someone sent it to me.
Yeah,
That's pretty sick.
yeah.
Oh, wait, did they have all the teams posted now?
10th Planet's the only one that's been announced.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
But
That's
we've still got until August. So it's
Yeah.
a very early announcement.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so is this one set up to where like each team can win $1 million?
I don't know what the prize money situation is.
Yeah, I was
That'd be
curious
awesome.
about that.
I
I
hope
imagine
it's
it's
like,
5 million per.
Sounds good to me, bro. Yeah. I would like to see it be a little more evenly distributed, like first place, second place, third place.
Oh, that'd
something
be
like
interesting.
That,
Yeah.
Semifinal prize, maybe prize quarterfinals.
For sure, because you do see like some of the runner-ups for the CJL one. It's like,
Yeah,
fuck.
dude. Poor Levi Jones Leary.
That's what I'm thinking too. I mean, that could have gone either way.
It really could have.
And
I
for
had
like,
him winning it actually.
I think so too. So for like, maybe on some people's scorecards, $1 million. Some people
Versus
scored
10,000.
10 grand. That sucks.
That's rough, dude. That's
really
rough.
rough.
That's why I'd like to see it be like
a little more.
500,000, 250, 100.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spread it out a little
Spread
bit
it
more.
out,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of makes sense. It's it's like if you think about like a UFC event, it's not only the champions who are making money.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is his first test in it too, like his first
For sure. And
time
like
getting it.
I understand why they did it the way they did it because $1 million has a huge
Million's
just marketing. Like you hear $1 million for jiu-jitsu.
You win $1 million.
Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
It sounds better than we have $1 million or $2 million total prize pool.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It
it'd be
sounds
cool if
better
next
just-
time they're just like distribute it more evenly.
Yeah,
So, like,
exactly.
third place.
'Cause now
fourth
it's
place
like-
can walk away with some legit money,
For sure. Yeah, because now it's built more notoriety too.
It's huge, yeah.
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 Wow. You had a super close match that first one too.
Man, yeah.
That one also could have went either way.
Yeah. Split decision.
That sucks.
Yeah. It's all good though. I got to show off a lot of my game.
Yeah.
So that's the really important thing.
Yeah, exactly. And you got the invite for back to the
The
second
next
one.
one, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow, how cool. So what's your like overall goal in jiu-jitsu? Just competing, just keep getting to the highest level, and do you ever want to open up a school or anything like
Yeah.
that?
Definitely want to open up a school. Definitely am going to keep competing and try to have the most exciting matches I can possibly have.
Yeah.
Because it's clear now that after that Andrew Tackett, Cade Ruotolo match, especially, that
Yeah.
that's like what is really going to blow you up.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
Just go out and try to attack. That's the best way I know how to do it. Just try to submit the whole time.
Yeah. Obviously, it comes with risk too.
Yeah.
You're opening yourself up
which
for
is fine. You know,
yeah.
it's still going to be a barn burn of a match. That's
Exactly.
like the most important thing.
Yeah, it's like if you look at like Andy Varela too, like he's super
Yeah,
exciting
he
to
is.
watch. You know, hasn't like consistently performed at the very highest level, but like everyone wants to see him compete.
Yeah.
Which why I'm a little bit sad he's not
He
on
throws some crazy shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a little bit sad he's not on the 10th Planet roster.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see him on there, but you know, Alan's been killing it lately.
Yeah.
He just won the
EBI.
EBI. He choked out Wojcik in the finals overtime, so
Yeah.
that's really impressive.
Wojcik.
Yeah,
The
Chris
guy that
Wojcik.
like did the Woj
The
lock.
Woj lock,
Yeah.
yep.
Which that's pretty sick.
Yeah,
I just
it
figured
is.
out that about that like 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's always impressive when people innovate.
Yeah, it
Things
is.
like that.
Especially you think like, all right, everything's figured out now.
No way.
Yeah, we're still very far from that.
For sure, it'll always be. I think technologically, there'll always be innovations. you
Yeah.
know. It's just the concepts that stay the same.
Yeah, exactly. And so where do you think your school's going to be?
I want to do one in Arkansas,
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Why Arkansas?
just because I've got some land out there.
Oh, really?
That's
You
where I
own land
live.
out there?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've been living out there for a couple of years, on and off.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh? On the land? Is that why you
On
got
the
your
land.
RV?
That's why I have it.
You just like
Yeah.
drive out there and
I live
park
out
on
there.
it?
That's
Wow.
right. No.
How cool. How many acres?
40.
40 acres?
Yeah.
That's sick. Nice.
Land's pretty cheap in Arkansas.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's still pretty cool. What would like are you talking about a couple $100 an acre or like
A little more than that.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
hey, that's sick.
Yeah.
It's sick to own 40 acres.
But the taxes are really cheap out there as well.
That's
Super
great.
cheap.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really great. Do you have like utilities over there? Like
No,
power?
I don't have anything. I just built my driveway. I want to put a cabin on it eventually so I can rent it out when I'm not there.
Nice. You got to pull power over to it.
I'll pull power over to it.
Do you like well and a septic?
I'll probably just do septic, and I collect rainwater.
Really? For
Yeah.
water? That's how you do. That's how you get water.
That's how I will do it, yeah.
Really?
That's how I've been doing it, just for drinking water. But I
Huh.
want to actually hook it up and create a system where I can do that for all the water.
So it rains
lines.
pretty frequently.
It rains a lot there.
Wow. And so you could just collect it and filter it.
Use it. Yeah.
Do a lot of people do that?
A lot of people collect rainwater there, yeah.
Really interesting. Wow. I guess I've never heard of that. In Arizona, it doesn't rain enough
No.
for people to do that.
No, you won't have enough.
Yeah. So would like a well be like too deep? Like there's not.
I could dig a well. As
You could?
well. Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. Because like in Arizona, like down in the valley, the well depths could be like 200 from very shallow to like maybe 700, which is a pretty deep well. And then once you get further north, it can become so deep where it could be a few $100,000 just to dig a well because it's so fucking deep.
I'm sure.
So people up there get like water hauled to them.
Yeah, I remember I used to go climbing in El Paso at this place called Waco Tanks. And the place that I would stay at, they had to have their water driven in because
yeah.
it's just so dry out there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's impossible to do a well. It's just too deep.
Right.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's fucking cool. How sick is it going to be to have your fucking homestead on 40 acres? Is there
It'd
like
be
a
great.
town nearby that like
Yeah,
you're thinking?
so there's a town called Ola, which is about 7 miles away. And then there's a big town, well, not big, but it's like 30,000. A college town where Arkansas Tech is called Russellville, where I actually teach at the gym there.
Oh, okay,
So,
nice.
And that's like 30 minutes north of me.
Are you thinking one of those cities?
No, I'll probably go south to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and open it up there.
How much? What's like the population of Hot Springs?
That's like about 40,000.
Oh, okay, so a good sized city.
Good sized city.
Yeah.
And not really any big jiu-jitsu gyms down there. Or
nice.
a whole lot at all.
What are you gonna call it? 10th Planet Hot Springs?
Probably, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So what's the timeline on that? You think you want to
Probably
just
next
kinda,
few years, not in the near future.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be locked down there.
Yeah.
Since I'm going to have to, I need to be out here training.
Yeah.
For a lot of things.
for sure?
So probably within the next 2 or 3 years.
Nice. Well, good for you. That'd
Thanks,
be
man.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing. It is a trade off for your training when you open up a gym. Obviously, you've got a bunch of white belts and people that you're not getting fantastic rules with. So you got to either travel or do something.
Yeah, like especially when you're first starting it and you got, like 2 or 3 people coming in consistently, it's
Yeah.
just not a lot to
And you
not a
got
lot
to
of
run all the
options.
classes. It's not like you can afford to employ
Just
a bunch
leave.
of
No,
coaches.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
just building it at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a real commitment where I'm gonna have to be like, I'll probably just live in the gym.
Yeah.
So that's a commitment where I'll have to be in hot springs for multiple years. So at that point, I'll probably be like past my competition days.
How old are you right now?
37,
Oh, okay. Huh. And what do you think you're going to compete till maybe 40 or
as
so?
long as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the brakes
As long
fall
as
off?
my body is holding on, I'll just keep going.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Do you do any performance enhancing drugs?
I'll probably like, no.
No?
I'll probably like train with my students.
Nice.
If I do end up opening the gym before I actually stop
Yeah.
competing.
Yeah.
Because I heard like Hodger trained with his students when he moved to England,
Oh.
like exclusively. He was just rolling with his blue belts.
I've heard that as well.
So, and
yeah.
that's when he made his biggest leaps in
yeah.
improvement.
Yeah, he won like the major gi competitions is when he was like just training with like white and blue belts.
But I'm sure he had like a big stable of blue belts to choose from.
That could be as well. Yeah, he was already a big name in the
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu community. Although it's like a long time ago too. It's only so many people you could get.
That's true.
Yeah. Maybe it's all like a mindset thing as far as like what your improvement can be. Like Eddie Bravo used to talk about like how you get better at jiu-jitsu is you fucking strangle blue belts.
Yeah, well, that's where I try to skill build is against the athletic blue belts and
Yeah.
purple belts,
Yeah.
and then refine my A game against the black belts.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like when you're trying to like you said, skill build when you're first doing like maybe trying a new move or something on someone.
Yeah, when I'm first developing the move, when it's still really feeble,
Yeah.
I'll try it against the white belts probably.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
give it a go.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Try it in a live roll for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of people like, all right, I'm just gonna come fuck you up to you could pay me $175 a month to
To learn how to defend, because that's really like white belt is pin escapes and submission defense.
Yeah, well that's true too.
You can
Yeah,
do that. You've covered a lot of ground defensively.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell the beginners, or at least people in their first 6 months, to focus on side control escape, mount escape, back escape, and getting out of close guard.
Yeah.
You can do that. You're pretty much unpinnable.
Yeah. That is really good. It's like I heard Danaher mention that if like all skill comes from a solid defense, if you're extremely confident in your defense, you have the like courage to go for things, just knowing that if it doesn't go well, you can get out.
Yeah, and you're not going to get countered.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's definitely a good point. And a good point as well about guard retention. It's like if your guard retention is really on point, you can throw attacks from guard a lot more liberally without having to worry about getting passed.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got like a really intelligent approach to jiu-jitsu. It seems like you're like very aware and like cognizant of like concepts, and the way you explain is a really good way. Like I feel like in your seminar, it was really interesting just hear you explain different concepts. I feel like you just do it in a really like compendious way. What do you think started that, or did you glean from someone, or where'd that come from?
I think just both of my parents started out as teachers.
Really?
My mom was an English teacher. My dad started out as a teacher before he moved on to his career. And I think just being able to, I've coached in other sports as well. Just being able to like articulate ideas is something that I feel like I'm pretty strong with.
Nice.
And then just as far as the concepts, I think concepts are pretty underutilized in the sport, or underemphasized rather in the sport. Whereas everybody will show techniques and give you the step-by-step process to executing the technique, but a lot of people don't just discuss concepts and maybe do exercises that help enforce that idea or that concept into the student. Just like, for example, the concept of double leg control when you're attacking the legs, you always want to try to control both legs.
Yeah.
Because that secondary leg is your opponent's ability to escape, or like 90% of it.
Yeah.
So you control the second leg, they're wrapped up. So that's a concept right there.
Yeah.
So I would try to play a game with the students where the person is trying to escape the second leg and they're trying to control the second leg, and let them see how easy it is to control someone when they have both legs wrapped up.
Yeah.
And like illustrate the concept to them through that game.
That's interesting.
But yeah, just concepts in general, I think just discussing them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to train concepts. It's something that you have to think about and your off time from the mats, like dilemma theory.
Yeah.
Dilemma theory is one of the most prevalent concepts that I've found in what we do, because there's always dilemmas that you can play against people: high, low, push, pull, left, right.
Yeah.
And if you're just attacking one direction, it's predictable and easy to stop. You have to couple that with another direction that play off of each other. You threaten left, they compensate, and right opens up. You go right, they overcompensate right, left opens up again. So it's
Interesting.
just like where to think about concepts would be, where can I play a dilemma in this part of my game?
Yeah.
Or you can even play them defensively with like an armbar escape. You escape with a hitchhiker escape, or you couple that with a reverse hitchhiker escape. And depending on how they pull your thumb and how they pull their arm, the other one will open up.
Interesting.
So concepts are just something that you discuss with the students and you tell them to think about outside of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. That's maybe one of the reasons that it's harder, because it's something you have to discuss. It's not something that like, hey,
You can't
here
just show them a concept.
Yeah.
Well, you can give an example of a concept, but
Yeah.
it goes back to that old cliche of teach them a concept, teach them 1,000 techniques.
Yeah.
And that's an oversimplification, but there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
Where if you can understand the concept, it gives you it gives you direction in what you're trying to do, even if you don't have a specific technique for that given situation.
Yeah.
At least I know that when I'm attacking the legs, I want to control both legs.
Yeah.
And even if I don't have a specific technique here, I'm going to at least control both legs, and it will probably lead me in a good direction.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe like control inside foot position.
Control the inside position. That's another
Yeah.
huge concept.
Yeah.
Or just inside position in general all over the body.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, where can there's almost always some battle for inside position. And like, so if you're lost, somebody's on your back, where can I win some inside position here? Oh, underneath the strangle arm, dig my thumb in there. You know?
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't even think about that as inside position.
Yeah,
When you have your
inside
back
thumb
taken.
position.
Yeah, that's an inside
Yeah,
position.
Totally. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, concepts are underemphasized.
Yeah. So how do you think you do it as like a teacher? You just like it every day, this is something you talk about, give a lot of examples.
discussing it with them.
Yeah.
Like, listen, this is something that is going to be a reoccurring theme
Yeah.
in whatever we're doing, like high-low when we're wrestling, or a lot of different places, that high-low dilemma.
Yeah.
So if we want to play the high-low game when we're wrestling, snap the head, pick up the legs. That's the high-low right
Yeah.
there. And when they overcompensate against one, like the snapping, they're going to posture up. There's the legs.
Yeah.
When you start picking up the legs, they're going to push their legs back and bring their head low. There's the snap. So
Yeah.
high-low, just think about that, guys.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty good.
And that can give you like a little bit of a game, even if you've never wrestled before.
Yeah.
Snap the head, pick up the legs. Pick up the legs, snap the head.
For
You
sure.
got a little game there. It's simple, but it's a game.
That is really good. You know, that could be like the next evolution of jiu-jitsu, is like finding better ways to teach and better ways to convey knowledge. Like, you know, if you look at the people like Joseph Chen, like who like, you know, had this super high level success only like a couple years into the sport. Like, what did he do learning wise?
He attributes it largely to instructionals.
Yeah.
He watched a ton of instructionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. That's
It's-
just like the boring part, I guess, of
It's hard to
jiu-jitsu.
like get to a high level quickly if you're not watching the best people's instructionals for the techniques that you want to become a master in.
Yeah.
It's like just trying to figure it out through gaming the system, through
Trial
through
and error.
sparring. Yeah, that's you know, it's going to take you. You may never arrive at the best way to do it.
That's true.
You
Yeah.
can get Danaher's leg lock instructional, and he's figured it out.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. It's like trying to like build a house and like consulting no one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Like maybe you do it a bunch of times over and you get better at it, but like
You're
to
gonna
build
have a really shitty house the
Yeah.
first time.
But yeah,
It's
exactly.
gonna be a teardown.
Yeah, exactly. But then to eventually get to like the Vatican or something, you've got to just consult experts.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How interesting. I gotta implement more instructionals. Yeah, it's I definitely watch instructionals, but not as much as I maybe would like to. It's just very time consuming. Although it's like, I don't know, it all just depends on how you want to allocate your time. You know, I'll show up every day and like, you know, Bojada for 90 minutes straight, but then won't take maybe a weekend or a morning or something and spend 90 minutes.
Sometimes
Looking at it.
I'll screen record the most important parts, or like when they're actually showing the technique that I want to start
Yeah.
working on, and just go back and I'll have 5 or 6 videos, bring
Yeah.
it to training. Okay, this is what I'm going to drill today.
That's interesting. That's a good way to do it. Yeah, because you watch like a Danaher instructional and you're like, get fucking to it.
For sure. Yeah, it's very redundant.
Yeah.
And he's definitely teaching to the white belts, like to make
yeah.
sure they're able to keep up.
For sure. And he's
So-
very philosophical in it too, which is very good too. It's just not,
It's also not getting to necessarily what you're trying to
yeah,
see specifically.
the meat and potatoes of what I'm
Yes.
trying to like,
Yeah.
this is what could level up my game.
Right. The actual
Yeah.
technique itself.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand the ideas behind it too,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes you just want to see the technique demonstrated.
Yeah.
So I'll just fast forward through that or go like 1.5 speed,
Hmm.
get to the point where he's actually showing the technique,
Yeah.
record that.
That's great. And so do you watch a lot of instructionals?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, quite a bit. Right now I'm watching Jason Rouse's split squat passing instructional. And I was watching before that Dima from B Team's rumble passing instructional. So those kind of paired well because the rumble passing, one of the goals of it is to put your opponent on their back. And then that leads right into the split squat passing right there with what
Interesting.
I was learning from Jason Rouse.
A split squat is like the split leg pass?
That's like the knee cut position, basically
Oh.
knee cut position.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
And so like maybe like from knee shield or something, like the passes from that position.
That's exactly what it is.
Where you've got your knee
Yeah.
on their thigh.
Yeah, basically attacking a knee shield. Yeah.
Interesting.
And a lot of what he's actually, I don't want to give away his instruction. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not mine to give away.
There you go. Yeah, that's okay.
But
Wow.
it's great, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. And so is that just like a part of your regular training? Or
Yeah,
regular,
I'm
like,
just watching that. I'm recording it. I'm watching my recordings, and then I'm bringing it into training and just asking people, hey, can I just pass from split squat?
yeah.
Just gaming it against lower level people right now, working the new stuff that I just
Yeah.
learned, and then getting it to the point where I can hit it against the higher belts eventually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's great. It's clear that like your dedication to like learning is one of the reasons why you're able to compete at such a high level.
Man, well, like you were saying, it's so easy now in terms of the access that we have to all this instructional material. Like it's right there at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
It's just about the willingness to actually look into it.
Yeah, and I like for some reason I like going through those instructionals, like
Yeah.
recording it and shit. There's
Yeah.
something weird about that's just enjoyable for me.
Like finding those little gold
Yeah,
bits. You're
yeah, yeah.
"Fuck
Like,
yeah."
oh, there it is. Cool.
Yeah.
Put that in my collection.
Nice.
Sweet.
Wow.
You know, and then I'll have like 5 or 6 clips of passing, some new things to work on.
Wow.
Sweet. And then I find that I always tell people I think it's like probably 3 months of dedicated work to go from scratch to actually having the technique be something that you could hit against somebody at your own level some of the time.
Yeah.
So
3
legit
months
part of your
from, like,
and we're
not
talking like
knowing it.
every day working on it.
Yeah. 3 months from not knowing it to like
going up through the white belts, all the way to the blues, purples, and then eventually getting it to a legit part of your game with consistent work every day.
interesting.
Seems like about the time period.
And so when you're in California right now for most of the time?
Most of the time, yeah, San Diego.
And so like you're training at Geo's most of the time. Do you like seek out other gyms or you go to like open mats and stuff too?
I need to do that more. I haven't been doing it as much, but yeah, I'll go down to 10th Planet Poway. Sometimes I'll go to Atos and Legion.
Those are expensive drop-in fees.
No drop-ins
Oh, really?
for me at least.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Once you're cool with the people.
Atos is though, you have to buy or you have to rent
Have
the
the
rash
gear,
guard.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll
Gotta
probably
be
just
training
buy
the
one of
gear.
those next time.
Nice. Yeah.
Save some money.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
But
that's
yeah,
good.
it's-
Always seeking out new people.
We're really spoiled down there with like how many really good gyms there are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you also moved to Texas for a little bit too.
I was in
right?
Austin for about a year, yeah.
Was that before everyone moved there? Like the Like, was that before New Wave and B Team, or were you?
Yeah,
there at
that
the
was
same-
before they got there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they got there in like late 2020 or like early 21.
Yeah.
I think.
So you maybe before the sort of depth of jujitsu.
Yeah,
people
I
out
was there before New Wave and B Team got there, and I don't think Victor Hugo and the Five Blades had moved out there yet either.
Interesting. But yeah, California is a fantastic place for that. There's definitely a depth. Arizona's a lot of people too. There's a big jiu-jitsu scene out here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, just maybe not the top 5 gyms in the world type scene.
California's hard to beat. It's a mecca.
Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah. Awesome. Well, dude, thank you for coming on. I've got
Thanks
to
for
pee
having
so
me.
fucking bad.
I understand. Yeah, we've stayed on for a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, 90 minutes.
Sweet.
Yeah, well, dude, thank you for coming on. You're an interesting person.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I didn't know we'd shared so much psychedelic love.
Yeah, that was a fun combo.
For sure. Yeah. Well, thanks again,
Sweet.
man.
Yeah.
Os.